can we get into the issue of the demand for a separate Kuki land? I'm sure this is also
Yes.
connected with the Christian conversions and all that. So can you speak a little
Hmm.
bit about the separatism?
Yes, yes. This also I had mentioned in a few of my earlier talks about the demand for a separate Kuki Zomi homeland, especially from the perspective of India's national security. And uh, when the violence was going on in Manipur in the month of June, July, a press statement was issued by 10 Kuki Chin MLAs of the Manipur Legislative Assembly, raising the allegation that the ongoing violence was perpetrated by the majority Maipi community, tacitly supported by the current BJP government in Manipur. So we need to understand that the political aspiration of separation from Manipur, uh, which is being harbored by these Kuki chins since a long time, is now being used by the Kuki political leaders to seek and demand a separate administration for themselves under the Constitution of India. So, in this context, the agenda for establishing a separate Kuki Zomi homeland or Greater Mizoram, it is known by several other names like Greater Mizoram, Zoram, Zalengam, or the Land of Freedom. So, this is something which we need to analyze further because the political imagination of this separate Kuki and Zomi homeland, having a concrete, a well-defined territory, it goes back to the late 1980s and the early 1990s, when the Kuki National Organization, the KNO, it is the first and the largest of all the Kuki Zomi militant groups when the KNO was formed. And this demand for establishing a separate Kuki land has surfaced periodically ever since. And the recent violence in Manipur again saw the resurfacing of this demand for a separate Kuki administration. And we must not forget that the MNF, since we started by talking about the Mizoram elections, we must not forget that the MNF, led by the current Chief Minister of Mizoram, Zoramthanga, had once fought for an independent Greater Mizoram, which is nothing but the separate Kuki land. And this Greater Mizoram had included all those areas which today constitute a part of the imaginary Kuki homeland. And the idea of a separate Kuki homeland has emerged from the belief that the hill areas of Manipur adjoining Mizoram and Myanmar, which has undergone, these areas have undergone si- demographic changes, massive demographic changes over the past several years, is inhabited by the Kuki community largely, who share, as I mentioned, who share affinity of ancestry, religious, and cultural belief systems with the Mizos. And this term for a separate Kuki Zomi homeland, the term Zalengam, was coined to give shape to the idea of the establishment of a separate Kuki and Zomi homeland. So the question here is not about whether this demand for a separate Kuki land is going to materialize anytime soon, but we certainly cannot overlook the threat associated with it, because the declaration by the 10 Kuki MLAs of Manipur for a separate administrative arrangement and their demand for separation from Manipur is just another step forward in somehow realizing their separate political aspiration of a Christian zonation and the establishment of Mizo hegemony in the region. So this has every potential for the outbreak of another round of conflict. Very dangerous.
I mean, I know we're focusing mostly on the Northeast today, but this does seem to be a common trend. I mean, when people talk about breaking India forces, like this is another thing that's a threat to our civilization,
Right.
to Bharat civilization. So, uh, I mean, thank you for giving us insight on that.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.